Peace and grand rising to the airs. Today is November the 5th, 1440 on the sun calendar, 1441 on the moon calendar, and 2020 on the Greco-Roman or Gregorian calendar. First, giving highest honors to the nobility here on this in this forum. We give high honors to those of the bloodline and the birthright for your sovereign demonstrations and for all that you have been doing in order to stand our nation up. It's a wrap. We've done it. And each and every one of us is to be congratulated, and we put our shoulder back to the wheel and start working. So high honor for all of your demonstrations that you've done to date. I'm sure that many of you can see the changes that have been made in your territories with regard to the demonstrations. In talking with the Moors over the weekend about their territories, we found that they've made so many changes in the favor of the Moors. For example, shutting down prisons and jails, starting to do that. That's starting to happen in the territories. And we're grateful for that because we know that those places were attempts to steal the bloodline, steal the birthright. And so we're grateful for those demonstrations.
Hey, Pauline, is your lapdog Jerem up there too?
We're grateful for the demonstrations that you've been doing. They have absolutely done the job, and they continue to do the job. And so we're all going to continue working in the way that we know how to do it. So we first want to ask you and have you to speak a little bit, anyone who has a demonstration that they want to share that they either have done or are planning to do, so that we can hear the testaments and also provide any assistance if needed. In our territory, and I'll give a brief testament of a demonstration that I did yesterday. We have made so much headway in this territory with regard to the mask situation. We talk about that occasionally. And we had to do another demonstration yesterday at Costco in Federal Way territory. And of course, we don't ever wear masks, and we're not ever going to wear them. Because the law needs to be able to speak at all times. And we know that some are not quite ready for that demonstration, and that's okay. No, you don't have to, you demonstrate at the level of your understanding, and when you're ready to do the demonstration, do it. And if you're not ready, don't do it. Okay? Because there will be other opportunities to demonstrate along the way. We've chosen that demonstration specifically because we know that whole mass situation is the the starting point, so to speak, of our ability to govern ourselves first and our territories respectively. I went to Costco yesterday, and normally we're not questioned about masks in our territory. So I went into Costco and I walked past, at the entryway they have people handing out masks and stopping people, stopping people at the door and giving them masks, etc. And the first thing I heard on my way in was, ma'am, ma'am, ma'am. And it was 2 or 3 of them running behind me saying, ma'am, ma'am, ma'am. And I'm not a ma'am, so I did not turn around because that's not who I am. So then when he got within a certain range of me, he said, ma'am, you have to have a mask. So I turned around. I said, I'm not a ma'am. Ma'am is British. I'm American. And they said, well, do you want a mask? I said, no, I don't need a mask. And so I kept going. I went on about my way through the Costco and picked up the items that I came for. And fortunately, I will give Costco credit. They are doing exactly what we tell them with regard to, in this territory, we're telling all of the grocery outlets and grocery stores that they need to have self-serve registers so that we can govern our own resources and ring ourselves up so that there's no covering over or no one standing in between us and our resources. And fortunately they had them in there, which is great. That's good. They're getting there. And we've been going to the other stores and they're putting them in as well, those stores that didn't have them. And so I went to the to the self-serve register, and wouldn't you know it, they brought out the biggest bully they could find. The biggest mass bully they could find was a 6'4" sleeping Moor who claimed to be the manager. And he came to the register and said, you cannot be in here without a mask. And I don't mean to laugh because it's not funny. It's because this is a serious demonstration because it means a lot. But when I think about how these things work, it can be a little bit humorous because we're not going to stop doing what we're doing. And when he said that, I said, no, I'm not going to wear a mask, and I'm going to continue to shop and do whatever I need to do. You cannot come in here without the mask, and according to Costco rules and this and that and the third. Well, okay, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing because that's not a part of the Constitution. The word mask is not in the Constitution at all. So he looked at his phone as if he was going to dial 911. You know, I don't know if he had planned on doing that. He looked at it, and then he started to press the codes and statutes. So the Spirit said, okay, like, talk a little louder so that those around you can hear what this is all about. Because they also need to hear that this is a constitutional issue. It's not Costco codes and statutes. So I spoke louder. Have you heard of the Constitution? Do you know what the Constitution says? Do you know that it does not, that codes and statutes do not supersede the Constitution? And guess what this sleeping Moor said? He said, I don't care about that. I said, sleep is something else, isn't it? So, of course, the Spirit said, okay. He said he doesn't care about that, so start ringing your stuff up light. So I began ringing my things up, and I said, no, I'm not wearing, and he came over with a mask in his hand. And again, we honor that there is, that so far throughout the years, they've been keeping the citizens in alignment. We honor that. You're supposed to keep them in alignment here on this land because that's part of the deal, is you manage them, but you don't manage us. We govern ourselves. And so he was standing there talking about this mask, and I'm talking about the Constitution, and all laws made by the state to the contrary are notwithstanding. And so I rang my things up, and as I finished ringing my things up, I think he gave up and he just walked away, him and his mask. And I grabbed my my receipt, and as I was walking past the other registers, of course, everyone, it was like they had stopped doing what they were doing to watch, and Albion said, "I'm so glad that you're doing that. Thank you for doing that." And I said, well, they're going to follow the law, you know, because that's part of the deal. And I walked out. We're not taking no for an answer on our land. And it's not even about an argument. It's about the law. And the ancestors always make sure that when we do so peacefully and calmly and following the lead of the ancestors, they're going to make sure that we come out victorious. They're going to do that. And when I got into my conveyance, all I could think was, bring the biggest bully you have, because they're going to obey the law too. They got a pretty big, he was huge. I thought I was tall. But, you know, I even told him that he needs to wake up and realize who he is, because I could tell by the way he looked that for the most part, I'm pretty sure he's a Moor. And even if he wasn't, he still needs to wake up and know who he is so that he'll recognize the law on the land, you know. So we're not taking no for an answer on our land when it comes to that. We're going to be peaceful. We're going to be calm. We're going to continue to do what we do, because we're moving into a place now where that whole mass situation is much bigger than we thought it was. It's earth-wide that they're doing this mass demonstration. And that means that it is an opportunity for the heirs to govern. That's what this is. This whole mass thing is, are the heirs ready to govern their own land, their own vast estate, and their own resources? Because remember, when we're going into these places, every inch in there comes from our estate. Not only every inch in there coming from our estate, but any substances, food, whatever it is. Yes, in the chat, it is a line in the sand. And that's why it's an earth-wide situation. It's a line in the sand saying, okay, who's really in charge here? And we know that we are. We were in charge even in our sleep. That's why they kept needing autographs every 5 seconds. Except then they manufactured consent because we didn't know what we know now. You know, so that was some manufactured consent. But now we know. And so we're not taking no for an answer. And are there any other mass demonstrations or demonstrations that are being done in the territories that you want to put forward, or you're planning on doing the demonstration and you want some reassurance or some assistance with it? Islam.
Yes, I had a situation with TD Bank. I haven't had a banking account for about 11 years, and I got some other business that I'm doing, and I needed an account. So I went to TD Bank, and I told them that, you know, I was a Morris American national with a tax-exempt status, you know, and I gave them my nationality card and my World Service passport that I've always used, like, for the last 10 years for ID. And they gave me an application that talked about treaty information. I was like, oh, this is interesting. I said, some Moors must have been putting in work. And they took my information, and I called back, and they said you were approved. I didn't have to give them no Social Security number or anything like that. So they are aware, and, you know, people have been putting out work, because I know before, you know, they usually give you a hard time when you're saying you want to open up an account without a Social Security number. But they took my information. It was like they were aware, and I was just like, kudos for that.
Yes. Yes. So you said a couple of things that I want to touch on. First of all, congratulations on your demonstration and the success of it. Yes, the Moors have been putting in work. The ones, I'm telling you, all over the earth, we've been putting in work. And we are now seeing the changes that we need to see in order to affirm that what we're doing is working. Because when we first started working in this manner, from our perspective, it was being said that, we don't see any changes. We don't see anything happening. That stuff you're doing is not doing anything. It doesn't mean anything. And we knew it did. And we knew there was a little bit of a lag time on, those things manifesting, but we saw them manifest nonetheless. And now it's very, very, very apparent that everything that we've done is working. And that's, when I say we, I mean Moors from all over, everywhere, are doing the work. A couple of things I just want to put on your radar as you do the demonstration for you to study is the tax exempt piece. We're not tax exempt. We are not taxed, which is a little bit different. It's quite different actually from tax exempt. So with regard to the language, be careful with that type of language, in there, because you want to stay in our sovereign jurisdiction. And in our sovereign jurisdiction, no corporation has the authority. Islam, I see you in the chat. I'm opening up. No corporation has the authority. Islam, welcome. Welcome.
Come on, Pauline.
Yes,
Can I get in on that?
welcome. Islam. Welcome.
Islam.
Welcome. So with the tax exempt, welcome. Islam. So the tax exempt language, we are, yes, tax non-obligated or not taxed. I prefer not taxed.
Exactly.
Because then, because no one has the authority to do that. No one has the authority to tax the heirs. And they can't even tax you and then make you exempt, you see. Go ahead, Nobility.
What about Milo?
Go ahead, Nobility.
Yes, and, and just another thing more is executive orders are not law. Like she was saying, statutes, codes, rules, regulations, orders, mandates, none of them are law. They're unconstitutional. Ray versus state. I yield the floor.
Yes, Islam. Thank you, Nobility. Nobility, did you state your appellation so we know who's putting out that awesome information?
Yeah, Amari Bay, D.C. Territory.
Islam, I should have known. Islam. Thank you, Justice Amari. Yes, codes and statutes, executive orders has nothing to do with the heirs. We are the ones who state the law, and everyone is subject. All corporations, companies, whatever, they're all subject to the heirs and to the Constitution. We push that Constitution in their face every chance we get because they are under it. We put them under it. They are under it, and they're going to stay under it, or they got to get out of here. Okay. Also, you said something about in the demonstration, again, high honors for that. That's what's causing the changes is demonstrations like the ones that we talk about. You mentioned a World Service Passport, and I know that you mentioned that you've been using that for a while. My only suggestion, and it's just a suggestion, you're sovereign and you can do as you will because it's your land. Do the study on ensuring that whatever it is that you're using does not have capital letters on it, and that it's in red in all lowercase letters, because that keeps us out of the capitalist jurisdiction and keeps us in our sovereign jurisdiction. So just, do some study, and you have the authority to create your own travel documents as well. And then we have travel documents also, but Moors are sovereign You know, some are with other governments and nations, which we honor all Moorish governments and nations, no matter who they are. As long as they're Moors, we honor all governments. And those governments have the authority to make their own travel documents and all of that. So when they do them, when they do them in red in all lowercase letters, and then those who see that must honor it. And that's what we were telling. Yes, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
And then there was a mention of on an application, something about a treaty on their application. I've not ever seen that before, you know, on an application anywhere.
Right.
So so it's working. Yeah. Go ahead.
It was some information in reference that if you're claiming a status, a foreign status with treaty, secured by treaty, just the fact that it had it, I was like, with somebody has put in some work where one of their higher ups had one of their attorneys say, well, look, we got to put something on there, you know, so people who are coming in this light can come in that light, and we won't have any issues. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yes. Yes. What was the case that you mentioned earlier?
Ray versus self. RHAY versus self. SELF.
Isn't that something? RHAY versus SELF.
Right.
Okay. All right. I put that in the chat as well. Thank you for that information, because someone in the chat was asking if you could place the case in the chat.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. We do know that there is a transition taking place. All banking is to honor the Moors, and all banking and control of all banking is being transitioned over to us. Why? Because everything comes from us anyway. And so that's why you're seeing changes like that. We've done videos in the past where we said that all banking, all shipping, and all commerce is under the Moors. And they know they have to do that. And when the Moors began leaning and doing court actions, they knew that we meant business about all of that. And so they're starting to move things over the way they should, because everything that's being bought and sold was based on our authorization and our consent and our autographs anyway. And so we are taking all of that back. And thank you for that information, because I did not know it had gotten to, you know, to that point thus far, but I'm not surprised. And one last suggestion, you know, just for future reference, and of course we knew that it was going to go through quickly, because again, the systems are our systems. However, if I were to open an account somewhere or something like that, I would do it by affidavit. And then, you know, if you want to clip their blank application to the affidavit, and let them know, and Jim clip it, you know, don't staple it, but Jim clip it.
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny when I first went in. They gave me the application. I called back, and I didn't even have to do the application. I just had it. I came back, and the lady called the head lady, and she said, "Yeah, he's fine," and I didn't even have to sign anything.
Islam. Well, and they, you know, again, they know already.
They know.
And when we do it by affidavit, we get to determine how that account, that sovereign resource account, is used. We get to determine that. And that's why we do it by affidavit, is so that we can show, okay, you know, if issues come up, we can say, look back at the affidavit that started this, because what starts in truth stays in truth. And then we can say, when you look back at that application, and that's why we have to be competent at the demonstration so that we will know what to put in our lawful affidavit when we're talking about banking. Then we can tell them, okay, in this affidavit, there are no fees, no banking fees on gold and silver. We can give them a list of things. There's no interest on gold and silver. All loans are a gift to me from me. You see what I'm saying? All of that. Because in reality, if you look up the word loan in an older dictionary, it specifically states that it is a gift from a sovereign. Well, who are we gifting? We're gifting each other and ourselves. You see? So we give them an instructus, a banking instructus, or a sovereign resource account instructus. And we put that on government letterhead and say this is a government account. And then when you give them that, it automatically puts it in the proper status so that anything associated with that account can be claimed by us and put and properly dealt with. Okay. Yes, he did say TD Bank is what he said because they're asking what bank in the chat. It should be all banks. All of them should be doing something where treaty is concerned. But we get to determine that when we give them our sovereign affidavit, you see. So, we can't lose. We have absolutely nothing to worry about. We have nothing to worry about. If it's in the chat, when you do it that way instead of in all caps. You want to lean and do a court action on the all cap name of the ones doing business as a bank, because they're not really a bank. We're the bank. And so for those who are wanting to do a demonstration similar to what our Noble was talking about here with TD Bank, you want to do a lien and a court action on the corporate ones attempting to be the bank, okay? Because all they're doing is routing things that the creditor gives through themselves so they can take and take and take. And then you speak to the all lowercase bank with notification to the uppercase. So when we do things like open accounts and things like that, we notify the corporates that this is being done, but they're also being notified that they're due in court, Moorish American Consular Court, and that there's a lien on their activity on our land. And that's how we make sure and ensure that whatever is being done is done in the favor of the heirs, just like the prophet said. We make sure that it's being done in our own favor because we're writing it. And that's what we're supposed to be doing, So in the chat, it says, do we have an example dictionary with the definition of loan? Yes, I have a dictionary here, which is where I saw that definition. And my dictionary, this one is an unabridged, a second edition unabridged Webster's dictionary. So unabridged is actually the best because it takes all of it includes all of the definitions from the very beginning when they first started defining things. Here is in this dictionary, and we've talked about this before. Yes. So there are several meanings here, and the one that we have here is a grant or gift from a superior. It says the Latin for loan is L-O-N-E or L-A-N-E. Okay, that's actually that's the Middle English, and then so it says it's a grant or a fief, F-I-E-F. So it's a grant. And then here it says a grant or gift from a superior. Okay, and then when we, in our sovereign dictionaries, it is a grant or gift from a sovereign. So even when you're talking about grants and gifts and things like that, we already know that there was never supposed to be any fees or anything like that because they were using our credit anyway. Meanwhile, we entered into contract with them unlawfully, which we never should have done, you know, the more, and you know, we have to tell the truth about our part in the colonization. You know, we in the past, we entered into contracts with them where loans are concerned, and then when they come back to take what they unlawfully, you know, even sold to us without full disclosure, then, but see, there's not full disclosure on both sides. Filling out their applications means that we're going under their citizen status. And that's why we don't fill out their applications. And it's okay because jurisdiction can be invoked at any time, but when you know better, you know, then we start doing the study to do better in terms of their applications, you know. But we've all done it in the past in our sleep. We filled out applications, and then when they come back to take their, you know, to take their corporate paper, they attempt to include the citizen, whoever the citizen was, you know. And if we thought we were citizens, they would try and take us or whatever it is that we were claiming. And so now we know better, and when we know better, we do better. And now that we're doing better, you're seeing the changes in that whole system. See, the system is our system. It just should not have any foreigners attempting to be, you know, attempting to capitalize. It's the capitalists that we have leaned and done court actions on. So thank you for sharing that demonstration. We learn something new no matter how the demonstrations are done, because again, there's 1,000,001 ways to be sovereign. Being a citizen is not one of them, you know. But the demonstrations that we've heard thus far have been just amazing because we learned something from every single demonstration, every single one. And now we hear that they're starting to talk treaty on banking, on their banking side. So that means someone has gotten their attention. And they realize that whoever it is that has their attention, there's a treaty involved. And that's how you know that that everything that we're doing is working, because even when people came from other places, if they were citizens, they were all citizens, period. But someone has made the distinction, you know. The distinction has been made that there is, in fact, and at law, an active treaty being put into effect. And it never was out of effect. We just were out of our status, you know. We were asleep. So are there any other demonstrations that you want to either discuss or that you're planning on doing? Islam.
Yes,
thank you.
Pauline,
Hold on for just a moment.
Pauline, I command
Go
you,
ahead,
Pauline.
Justice
Where's
Jeremiah.
your lapdog, Pauline?
Islam
What happened to your
says,
lapdogs, Melo and Delilah?
here we got the beast.
I know you still got your little lapdog Jeremoth there. You still lying to everybody? Is that you?
the right to travel. It's interesting that when we exercise it, then we start finding out things. One of the most interesting things is from a conversation I had this week with Amor. If he's on here, he might speak up. But we were talking about traveling and having the allodial travel card or just traveling in general. And an interesting thing came up, how it is that the pale ones get away with it. When they're stopped and they say in words akin to this, I'm just a traveling man. That is their passcode. And we are the original and the only real travelers. So they took it, and that is a Freemasonic password, by the way. And so knowing that, when one is traveling, just insist on your right to travel. Don't talk about driving, about any of the other stuff, because you're traveling. And your right, the right to travel and the mode of conveyance are absolute rights. So police or no one can make void the exercise of those rights. So all we have to do is know who we are, and yeah, if they want something that shows some documentation of who you are,
Hey, fuck off,
show them
Jeremy.
a right to travel card. But that is something that we must insist on. And if we don't, then, you know, we cede the ground to them again. So just know that, and know that your right to travel isn't something that's a fake, it's real. In fact, it's the realest thing. Because if you can't travel freely, it's like when you dam up a river or divert water from some place that it goes naturally to kill whatever is in that area. So your rights are really important, that you do not step back from them just because someone tries to intimidate. Because the invaders claim rights they don't have by having us think that we have none and have to get from them. We have all the rights and we can give all rights. We don't need to receive any from anyone because it's ours by birth right. Islam.
Islam. Can you hear me? Okay.
Islam.
All right. So this is
Empress, what happened? We can't hear you.
She just went off.
She went muted.
I hit my mute button by mistake. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. So I did a demonstration with the immunity plates in New York. So I was pulled over in front of Madison Square Garden. Well, I wasn't actually pulled over because I rolled the window down and I asked them, what do you want? And they said, pull over. And I said, run my plates. Do not stop. Do not detain. He said, well, pull over on the side so we won't block traffic. And I said, that would be detaining me and I would be stopping. And so I kept rolling and I said, run my plates. And so I stopped. They got out. They asked me where I was going, and I said I'm traveling for work. And then they ran the plate, and then there were 3 detectives in an unmarked car, and they said, let's get out of here. They jumped in the car. I ran behind them in my conveyance. I snapshot the license plate, went to the house, did a lien, did a court case 2 days later, put them in Guantanamo Bay, that actual precinct. But what I wanted to stress is that whatever you want for yourself, just always do it for all the Moors. Because I put in the lien, if we are in traffic and you see a Moorish American immunity plate, you must put on your lights and guide us out of the traffic. And I'm telling you, every single time I was stuck in traffic, they came up, put the lights on, and led me across any bridge that I was in all 5 boroughs. So you have to tell them what you want for you and all the Moors. Just don't forget everybody else.
Islam, that is, hold on for just a moment. Let me say this about that. I'm glad that was effective when you did it, Empress, because it's important that we be protected and et cetera. As for me and you know, what we're saying at this point is they're incompetent. We don't need them to do anything for us because we can do it for ourselves. So I'm not giving them any instructions other than you're fired. And in fact, you were never hired, with full disclosure, so we don't need you because we are our own police. Okay. But that's where that is the way that I'm doing that demonstration. And that's really for all Moors too. We don't really need them. But if you know, of course, we demonstrate at the level of our overstanding, you know, and that's okay. But as for me, don't need them, don't want them, don't need them to direct me anywhere because they're incompetent. They have a funny way of having us break out in handcuffs, and I'm not trying to go there because they don't have the authority for that. So I don't give them any instructions because they're incompetent to even fulfill them, you know. But go ahead. I believe Justice Abbasi and Justice Jiramore were going to say a couple of things about that. And again, high honors, Empress, for that demonstration because that got you where you needed to go, you know, when you did it. High honors, Islam. Justice
Islam.
Islam.
I want to piggyback on what Justice Gio was talking about. That demonstration and what he's referring to, well, long time ago, I was following my grandfather's footsteps. He's a 32nd degree Mason. And, you know, I thought everything that my grandfather, because I honored him so much, if he did it, I thought it was the right thing to do. So I always wanted to be a Mason. And who else wear our headdress or our crowns? The Shriners. So I became a 30, well, not a 30, I'm take that back. I became a 3rd degree Mason, only in the Blue House. Okay, but in all the instructions that they was giving us, okay, how to protect yourself out on the roadways. One, if you got stopped, that what Gio was saying is proper. I'm a traveling man. And the other one, if you broke down on the side of the road with some hand movements, you would say, I'm the widow's son. So, and what we're doing now is just totally in line, because we are travelers. And with that, I yield.
Islam. Yes, Islam.
Islam?
Yes, Islam.
This is Charles Neal Abdulaziz Bay out of Michigan Territory. Brother, I wanna put this out there. We Moors, we home. The traveling men are those who got the passwords that are not above us. But we Moors, we home. Islam.
Let me piggyback again. Those words that they use as passwords are ours, not theirs. They wear our crowns. They even got Islam, the Shriners. They got Islam on them. They got Morocco on them. They got everything about us, pretending to be us. So everything that they project out there to do to save themselves,
the Abians, the paleface, they use our tools to do so. And with that, I yield.
Islam, just to make the point, this message is for all the Moors who want to hear it. It's something in their quiver that doesn't have a bullet or a point of an arrow at the end of it. It has their rights and how to stand up to it. And yeah, wherever you are, I know a lot about having to have passwords to go over certain places because the family line was in charge of many crossings into and out of certain areas. And there had to be passwords, and there had to be things that one would know. If you didn't know it, there's a good chance you had no business being there. So the information is free to be used by those who want to use it, and those who don't want to use it, they're free to not use it. I thought it was something valuable, and I value it now, just like I valued it almost 3 years ago when we started doing this right to travel. So with that, I yield.
Islam. And so all of you are correct, by the way, because again, there's 1,000,001 ways for us to be sovereign, to be ourselves on our land. Whether you choose to be yourself that way or, to use that diction, you're still sovereign. As long as anything that you use is paired with your nationality, then it's when we thought we were citizens and we were trying to use that stuff. None of that's going to work if we don't know who we are. But when we know who we are, it's our land. Who's monitoring that in the first place, actually? And that's where we're going with all of this. After a while, it's only going to be Moorish police on the roadways and travel ways. It's only going to be us on the travel ways. That's in the works now, monitoring things and et cetera. And ensuring that those that come to visit our land to do commerce or whatever are doing so lawfully and honoring our sovereign status at all times, so that they don't get themselves hemmed up in deportation and consular court, etc. Islam,
just to kind of cap that off. The beautiful thing about it is that over the last 2.5 years, I have been receiving tons of calls every day from Moors when they are in a place that they couldn't figure how to get out of it because they weren't really studied enough yet. One of the beautiful things that happens now is that pretty much every single call I get, and I get a lot of them every day, the calls I get are from Moors saying, let me tell you what happened. I was there, so I was speeding or I was doing something and somebody pulled me over and then they saw my tag and they gave it back to me and said, have a nice day, and split. I hear it every day. That, to me, is music, because our Moors who are just starting to wake up are having to deal with less and less molestation, and as they learn and get confident in themselves and what they're doing, they'll be that much more benefit to themselves and to every other being.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the right to travel, it's don't dam the river, don't shut the roads down, don't lock the doors, because that's why you don't shield from anything. But that's another level. Islam, yes. I yield.
Islam, very seldom on these calls can we mention sovereign plates, and Moors not want to go ahead and get them. Justice Abbasi Talib Bey, who is on this call, is the provider for sovereign Moorish American plates. So please contact him for those. I saw in the chat, Empress Portia said that she received help with her plates, and I saw them on social media. She had posted them on social media, and they are beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
And
So
I do supply those plates too.
Yes,
Yeah, I was just
Islam,
saying that.
don't let me
And
guess.
other Moors do it too. There are several other
Yes.
Moors who are doing it now. And
Thank
so,
you,
you know,
Justice Gia.
Islam.
Yes, thank you for that. Because for a while it was just Justice Abbasi, but Justice Abbasi can spread that love around, and Justice Gilmore, I'm glad to hear that more and more are doing plates, because I know Justice Abbasi stays busy over there with plate work and IVs and things like that. So, but for those, Justice Abbasi, do you mind if I give them your email address for the plates? And Justice Gilmore, any more who are doing plates, go ahead, Justice Abbasi, go ahead.
Sure. My email address is my appellation, abbasitalifbey@gmail.com. Okay, so, but like Gio was saying, y'all say Gio Moore, I'll call him Gio. Okay, he also create plates as well. And with that, I yield.
Islam. Justice Gilmore, you want to give your information so that they can contact you for plates as well?
Islam, it's on the chat. It's giaramore@alignmentinspirit.com. It's also can be found on the website or on Facebook. And I may not be as easy to reach as people would want, but I say if you call me and I don't answer, you leave a text, I'll certainly get back to you, because if I don't have your number marked, I usually will leave it until I have time to call back.
Yes.
But if you text, then I know who it is. You will get a call back at some point. Islam.
And we're in the process of getting some out here in West who can do the tags and the sovereign plates and the Moorish IDs. We're still working on that out here in West. So, but in the interim, we have others who can do them. And I also think that I believe Justice Tariq in Central does them as well. In fact, I'm pretty sure he does I know he does IDs, Justice Tariq at Central. And then Empress Fatima at Northeast also does IDs as well. So, I'm going to go ahead and unlock the meeting for just a moment. More are calling in. Just one moment, please. Okay. All right. So thank you for that information as well. All of that is necessary. And please, yes, notify with regard to the travel documents when you do send them. When you do receive the travel documents, notify all those doing business as corporations, because the way this works is this. When we
What the fuck, Polly?
When we get those, when we get the tags and the IDs and things like that, and we start doing our demonstrations, we want to notify everybody in the territories, because what's going to happen, and you also want to do liens and court actions on all policy enforcer, those doing business as policy enforcers, sheriffs and everyone, because the sheriffs are still corporations until the Moors step up and are doing the Wazir police and multi duty in the territory. The sheriffs are corporations too, so we don't really want to use them either. We want to lean the corporate covering off of them, and we want to lean the corporate covering off of, and do court actions on all of the corporate doing all of that. We want to do court actions on all of them, and when we do court actions and liens on them, then they're going to move on to the to other citizens. So that's what's being identified right now. Is we're identifying and everyone. That's what this whole mass situation is. It is an identification process of who are the heirs on this land. Who are they? Who is it?
You're not the fucking.
You know, who is it? That's the government on this land. Who is it? And they will know by those who stand and govern. Okay. So notify, and then when you notify, go ahead, Justice Abasi. Go ahead, Justice Abasi.
Yeah, that's where I was going. Okay. And I like to say this, and please, before you put these tags on your conveyance, send in your documentation. You only have to send them to two places. That's DOT and DMV of your county. DOT of your state and DMV of your county. Okay? But do not just put these tags on your car and start riding, because if you're not in the system, you're going to get stopped. And with that, I yield.
Well, and in the system means our ancient system. That's why we put them on notice. Because we're not in states and counties, corporations. We're at Morocco, you know. And so we put them on notice, just like Justice Abasi was saying, send out so that everyone knows that and then please ensure that you have terminated all corporate contracts. Please do that. That must be done before you get involved with these, before anything else. That's actually the next most important thing after nationality is termination of the corporate contract.
Islam.
Okay. Islam.
There was a question about what is DOT. DOT is the Department of Transportation for the state. The Department of Transportation. The DMV is really not even the office, because if you send it to the elected sheriff of your county.
Fuck you, Jeremy. What's your problem, you stupid?
It's that one's responsibility to advise everyone else. And then the Department of Transportation, they will advise all other state departments of transportation. So you do two places, the sheriff of your county and the Department of Transportation, and you have done all the notice you want. Let them do the work. That's what. And again, the Department of Transportation for your state, they have their information all over the websites. So I yield.
And we are. I'll just camelback on that. We're the state. We are the state.
Yes.
So that's why we're notifying them. So absolutely correct, Justice Jermore. They notify. And then I would notify them periodically and ensure, again, that all corporate contracts are terminated, because some things that we need to take into consideration when we're demonstrating things like that is that conveyances have corporate or previously had corporate contracts all over them. Every number that was on a conveyance had a corporate contract for 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 or 100 attached to it, starting with the plates. You know, when you're using corporate plates, there were previously many adhesions there. And then we hadn't even, we don't even take into consideration, or we hadn't previously taken into consideration, and when I say previously, I mean in our fleet. We didn't consider in our fleet that a VIN number with all those numbers on it.
Are you saying not to pay your mortgage?
Is adhesion contracts, all of that, adhesion contracts. And so that is why you need to, we all must terminate all corporate contracts when we're doing things like that, when we're putting our tags on.
Yeah, they like to come in here and monkey around, don't they?
They're so cute. I need them to go on about their business too, though, because that's anyway. So we want to be sure that all corporate contracts are terminated, because there were contracts on conveyances that we didn't even, none of us ever would have thought that there were 50 or 60 contracts. The secretary, the one doing business, the Secretary of State, put a few on there. And then the ones doing business as dealerships put a few on there. Contracts, of adhesion. Contracts of adhesion. And that's why there are contracts that we had when we were asleep, we didn't know there was that many contracts and that many claims of interest in one conveyance. That's why it's important to terminate all corporate contracts, and then continue to terminate them as you go about. So I was telling the Moors this the other day, that when I'm doing anything, before I do a demonstration, I just publicly or verbally terminate all corporate contracts. At that time, again, even in the chat, I see something about the manufacturer's certificate of origin. That was a contract too. Not just a contract of adhesion that the manufacturer put out there, but it was also a contract of adhesion where the Secretary of State was claiming that your conveyance was abandoned and that it belonged to a citizen, etc., all of that. And so that is why we terminate the corporate contracts and then create a sovereign, universal, allodial,
don't terminate all contracts.
Origination affidavit. Origination affidavit, okay? Universal, sovereign, origination affidavit. And those universal, sovereign, origination affidavits say that your conveyance originated at Morocco because it came from your estate. You see? Their manufacturer certificate of origin state that the conveyance originated in a corporation, which is impossible. It can't be. That never happened. Never happened. That came from our vast estate. All of the materials and all of that came from our vast estate. So you can even call it a manufacturer certificate of origin in red in all lowercase letters. In red in all lowercase letters on government letterhead. You can call it that. Okay? So that is some other paperwork and some other termination of corporate contracts that can be done. Okay. And then you can give it if you'll also notice, VIN numbers have letters in them. Those letters are in capital letters. So you, on your sovereign certificate of origin, and spell certificate a different way because it just means that we own it and no one else does. That's what certificate means when we intend and use that word. It does not mean something that they can throw out on a stock market somewhere. Okay. And so, yes, I saw that. It's in black. It's in black, but don't worry about it. So when you do that, when you put the VIN number on there, make all of the letters lowercase in red. Okay. So,
Islam.
go ahead, Justice.
Just want to point out that even though you hear the name being said manufacturer's certificate of origin, the correct name for that document is manufacturer's statement of origin. Now, why is that important? Because we really are the manufacturer. Because they're using our minds to put these things together. So we are manufacturing it. And so that is a true statement when we make a manufacturer's statement of origin, not a certificate. That's important to know. Words mean things, and word meanings do not change, ever. Islam.
Actually, Justice Jeremiah, we will agree to disagree in that word meanings don't change, because in reality, when we spell certificate a different way from the way they spell it, then it's based on our intention. I just put a different spelling of the word certificate in the chat, and I spelled it S-E-R-T-I-F-I-C-A-T-E. When the sovereigns used to spell it in ancient English, in red and all lowercase letters, then we determine what it means. Because remember, when they gave us certificates before, we just thought that it was something conferring something onto another thing. And that's really what we're doing, is conferring our natural nature onto our conveyance, you know. But Justice Jeremiah, I hear what you're saying, and you're absolutely correct, especially when it's in black. That word certificate in black means whatever a corporate who would put it in black would put it.
Islam.
Would mean for it to be. Yes,
Islam.
Islam.
The point of making about words not changing is denotatively, word that denotes something now denoted that same thing when that word was put together, because it has that energetic quotient in it. Connotatively, yes, things change. Denotatively, no, they don't. Don't argue me on that. Take on my good brother Abdullah.
You're right. You're right. You're right. That is correct. That is correct. Thank you for that clarification. Thank you for that clarification. Yes, you are correct. That's correct. Because when you talk about the beginning of things, you're talking about us. All words started with us anyway, just like Justice Abbasi said earlier. Absolutely correct. Thank you for that clarification. That is absolutely correct. Let's see. So, let me see. Oh, one thing we wanted to discuss briefly today too, along those same lines. Yes, in the chat, Justice Frank. Can we use birth certificate in red and in lowercase? Yes, absolutely. We created. That which starts in truth stays in truth. That which starts in fraud stays in fraud. And that's, their applications are fraud. Okay. We wanted to talk briefly along those same lines about the difference between contracting versus dealing with a subject, because there's a difference. The scenario can be the same. Let's just say you need a tire change. There is a big difference between contracting with a foreign company without everyone properly stating their status. There's a huge difference between that and terminating all corporate contracts on the public record and then dealing with a subject who is there to serve. Same scenario, you're still getting assistance with your conveyance from a foreign occupier, while the Moors continue to make it so that we don't need them in that capacity. That means we need more Moorish mechanics and things like that to be opening their their commercial businesses and things with proper documentation by affidavit, and then notifying everyone by affidavit that, yes, I'm doing this business right here, and I'm a Moorish American national, so we're not subject to any, Article 6 is in full play of the Constitution. All laws made by the state to the contrary are notwithstanding. We need more of that all over our land so that we don't have to have the subjects do it. But that's, again, another reason why we put the termination of corporate contracts on the public record, so that all public servants know that this is a subject and sovereign situation, and not that we're contracting with you, because we're not, because contracts are between equals. So Moors contract with one another, but we terminate all contracts with foreigners on our land, So we want to make that clear that, if you need some assistance, yes, the subjects are supposed to be there to assist. If there are no Moors doing that, but we have to get out of all of that. We're coming out of that. And now the Moors are stepping forward to start their own businesses and things like that, to do commerce from a sovereign perspective instead of from under a corporate, So that's why the termination of all corporate contracts on the public record is so important. Because even those coming to assist with changing of a tire are public servants who should be checking the public record, so that they don't get it twisted that if something goes wrong, they can drag you into one of their fake courts. That's really the point of all of that, is so that everyone's proper identification is known on the public record, so that there's full disclosure on what's being done, and that they are subject, period. Period. That's the difference. Same scenario. They're still helping with the tire. But as a subject and not as contracting equals. That's the difference. Aside from that, are there any other questions or comments or demonstrations that you're planning on doing or that you want to do, that where assistance can be offered?
Islam. Yeah, I got a license renewal, and I'm struggling. I think I got it, but I'm not sure. It's a CDL, and I had it for 5 years. It's expired, and the affidavit, they had me write out an affidavit so I could wear my fez on the license. And I had paid no attention, and race they had black, and they had all caps. I didn't know you at the time. That was 5 years ago. And so I'm thinking I'm supposed to do an affidavit and on government letterhead and tell them my application frank and lowercase. I don't know. I have to notify them that I'm coming because I done rescheduled twice. I have an appointment coming up November 12th. And so I don't know what I do. Improper personas of juris, and just stay with the. I know I was supposed to look at the application and then submit an affidavit on top of the application. So I'm struggling with that. And I don't want to do the same mistake I made having a license and it's all messed up, And I'll be telling them I terminate the contract, but I just need to submit an application in all lowercase and red. I know that, and so I'm struggling there with that. But,
okay.
Let's
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Justice.
All right. So, I don't know whether I probably have walking without a mask, and they probably I don't know. This look, I'm going through a lot of stuff with that mask thing too, because they trying to change up that situation. But well, I like to go over real quick again about. I know what you got to do now. I don't have any forms neither. Like a government letterhead because my machine is broke. So I need to get some.
What's your okay? So, Justice Frank, if you will place your email address in the chat, one of the heirs will send you the government letterhead.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Okay. And then also, so Princess Ali, would you send him the government letterhead, please, in all lowercase letters in red? Islam. Thank you, Empress. Appreciate you. And so with regard to even CDLs, etc., what you want to do is, and again, first do the study, okay? Do the study so that you will know how to stand on the demonstration that you're going to do. And then, just a few suggestions. You can use the sovereign-born appellation in red in all lowercase letters, Justice Frank. So the sovereign-born appellation that your mother gave you the day you crowned the Stargate, you can use that sovereign-born appellation to put that on your affidavit so that you establish that you are the creditor, okay? You've always been the creditor.
What the fuck are you talking about? Your phone?
The all lowercase letters in red. So, for example, when I crossed the Stargate, my mother, who is sovereign, as are all of our mothers, spoke into the universe my sovereign-born appellation, which is Pauline Denise Ritchie. And so in red in all lowercase letters, that is the creditor. And two ledgers were created that day. A debtor ledger using capital letters and black ink, and the creditor ledger, which we were never using. We never used. In red in all lowercase letters. Okay, so when you do things like renewing CDLs, you're not really renewing it. You are placing on the public record your sovereign status. And anything that's on the CDL renewal application, you want to reference it in your affidavit. So you don't have to fill out the CDL renewal application. You can actually attach it to a sovereign affidavit and use the sovereign-born appellation in red in all lowercase letters. And that should be, the whole affidavit should be in red in all lowercase letters. And then anything that is on the CDL application, you reference it in your affidavit. Now, on the CDL, they may be asking about a past driving record. Well, are we drivers and do we drive? No, we do not. We are not drivers. We travel. Okay, we talked about that. We travel. And so anything in the application where they want to connect you to one of their fake documents, you can deal with all of that with a statement that says that the real you, or the, just the personam jurisdiction statement, I am Pauline Denise Ritchie, in capitis diminutio nolo, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio haeredis. No United States corporation, company, citizen has, nor their agents, principals, heirs, assigns, nor any derivatives thereof. Because did you know that those names in all capital letters are derivatives of the United States corporation, company? They are. And when they ask about a past driving record, that statement is going to cover a past driving record because you don't have one. You don't have one. If you were using a driver's license previously, you don't have one. If you were using a social previously, you don't have one because and there's no need to say I don't have one. When you say you're not a U.S. citizen, that will say you don't have one. Yes. Thank you, Justice Abbasi. I will check it when I check. I'll check it this evening. When I saw Empress Portia's tags, I ordered some new ones. I have some more tags on my conveyance, but my conveyance, it needs a battery and it needs new tags in all lowercase letters. Because the one that I have was the one from before we knew about the lowercase letters. So I was demonstrating that tag previously. So I'm excited and looking forward. Yes, Justice Abbasi.
That tag is in all red, all lowercase, and in ancient writing, and also with the new seal on it. It's there. All right.
It has the new government seal on it in capitis diminutio nolo. Ooh, yes. So that is what I will. Thank you, Justice Abbasi. Thank you so much for all that you do for our nation. He just does awesome work, and he's so quick with it. I love it. I saw Empress Portia's tag, her sovereign conveyance plate, and I said, let me go ahead and order my conveyance plates as well, the new ones, because we put out on social media and in the Moorish American consulate rooms on social media, we put a copy of the new in capitis diminutio nolo seal, government seal of the Moorish National Republic federal government, to be sure. Government. We are not a corporation. We're not a 501c3. We're not filed under any corporation at all whatsoever. And so we have a new seal that emphasizes that. And so I had Justice Abbasi to put the new seal on the plate, on the conveyance plate that I ordered. And that seal just came out today. So, yes, Islam. So I'm looking forward to getting those and doing that demonstration again. And I'm just going to do the same thing we've always done, notify everyone. Notify everyone. And the thing about a do not detain list is we actually put ourselves on that list by our demonstration. When we demonstrate that we're outside of that jurisdiction, that is a do not detain, because the jurisdiction has to be established in order to detain somebody. And when we competently state that peacefully, I say it 3 times because that's a spell, then we put ourselves on a do not detain list. We have the authority to do that. And guess what? Corporates cannot put you on a do not detain list. They don't have the authority to do that, because then that would be them changing a status. And they don't have the authority to do that. That's above their pay grade and outside of their jurisdiction. So whenever I hear people say, "Oh yeah, I had them to put me on a do not detain list," if they can put you on it, they can take you off. So we don't even bother with them in that. We just do it ourselves. And then they can't detain you when you're peaceful and you're competent. Princess Ali, there's another request also in the chat for the government letterhead. It's on in red and all lowercase letters. And then also feel free to start using the new seal for those who are doing things in ancient English. Feel free. Use the new seal at your will. On your documents, have seals made for you, and ensure that you distribute it freely to other heirs who want to use the new seal. And again, the old seal is just as valid.
Is your cult show still going tonight?
It's valid in nunc pro tunc, okay? So all that we do is valid nunc pro tunc. Islam. Justice Frank, hopefully we added a little bit of a few suggestions that you can use with regard to that application. Because again, we don't fill out their applications; we do it by affidavit. And the fact that the noble who mentioned, Justice Amaru, who mentioned that the banks have something on there about treaties, says that we should be using our affidavits to do things. And that means that they already know about us. They're just saying we know about you because citizens don't talk to other citizens about a treaty. Do they? No, they don't. Okay? And so because they don't talk to one another about treaties, we know that's about the heirs. And that's where affidavits come in at Islam. So those who were requesting the information in the chat, you should have it in your email by now. Princess Ali has sent the letterhead. Okay. Are there any other questions, comments, etc.? If not, we can.
Islam.
Justice Yezerel first, and then the other justice who has the trust appellation. Go ahead.
Yezerel Perez Bay, North Carolina Territory. I just wanted to say a quick thing about jurisdiction. If you look in the Articles of Confederation at Article 2, it speaks about our jurisdiction. It speaks directly to it, so they absolutely know who we are. Yes. And I'll read that right quick. It says that each state retains its sovereignty, freedom, and independence in every power, jurisdiction, and right which is not by this confederation expressly delegated to the United States in Congress assembled. And so, you know, they didn't have independence. And yeah. So they acknowledged right there at Article 2, they acknowledged that we had sovereignty and that we already had our own jurisdiction. So yeah. That's the reason, and that's the reason that at Article 6 in the Constitution it refers you back to the Articles of Confederation. I yield.
Yes. Thank you for that. And also, remember, we are the United States in all lowercase letters, in red.
Exactly. That, as a matter of fact, I'm going to put a link to the copy that I got from RV Bay Publications, and you'll see that the capitalization is different from some of the copies that you'll get. And it has state spelled in Article 2, state is spelled in all lowercase letters. And then right below it, it speaks of the colonies, and states is spelled with a capital S. So always pay attention to the capitalization. And in some versions of this document, you'll find it capitalized differently because, you know, they played with the capitalization. And so I'll put in the link in the I'll put in the chat. I'll put a link to the copy that I have. I yield.
Justice Jeremiah, I apologize. I hit the wrong button. Go ahead, Justice Jeremiah.
Yeah, that was a good dance. Okay.
Sorry.
Islam. I just wanted to add something to when talking about the Articles of Confederation and all that. Remember, those articles and all of that stuff was put together by us, not by any Albion. They just copied stuff which they called framing. They framed the Constitution, which is the Constitution of. That was framed from the Constitution for. And so all of the Articles of Confederation and all the other things, those are our. Because we, until the 1800s, they had nothing at all going on here. And you see those things predate. So, just be aware of that. Islam, I yield.
Islam, yes. All they did was take the documents that we wrote, and what did they do? They capitalized them and put them in black ink and changed the spelling so that the spellings of the words are different from what we would spell them. But if you look in them, a lot of that, look at their documents that are coming out now, you can see the changes in the spelling. I saw a document recently where they spelled state, S-T-A-I-T, instead of S-T-A-T-E. But the further back you go in the documents, the more they try to fix up and correct that which they hypothecated improperly. But as we become more competent to do that, our history is correcting itself as we stand. And all we're doing is continuing to put that stuff, put the law out there in its proper format. And when we put it in its proper format, it is decapitalized and decolonized. In red, in all lowercase letters. And then when we're talking about them, it's in black in uppercase letters, in capital letters. And as we continue doing that, even when you look at stories in the quote unquote news, they're now changing their capitalization and using, doing different capitalization pieces that are not what they taught in those fake POW camps, So all we have to do is keep doing what we're doing, of course. And if you will give me just a moment, I'll put a link in the chat to the new seal so that you can pull the seal off of, let me just take a look and make sure this is the one. I believe it is. Yes, it is. Okay.
Islam?
Islam, go ahead, Jesse.
It's just like please, when you get time, look over that tag, proofread it, get back to me so I can send it out to you. Okay? Islam.
I will do that. I promise I will. I'm actually looking forward to doing that. Give me just a second or two, and I'm going to go ahead and put a link to the new seal in the chat so that you can grab that new seal and use it however you choose to use it in terms of your documents, etc. Islam.
This is Isendio. I was actually getting ready to do a demonstration with regards to cell phone and cell phone number. While I've already put liens on AT&T and sent them direct instructions, I'm going to update and do a more direct instructus, as well as putting liens on the FCC to further highlight that the particular phone number is a sovereign resource. But I wanted to kind of put that out as a demonstration that I'm getting ready to do and see if anyone had any other suggestions.
Is everything that you're doing in red in all lowercase letters?
Previously it was not, but I'll be redoing everything, the liens included, as well as court actions, etc.
Okay. And then also ensuring that whenever you're referring to that which is yours, which is phone numbers or anything else like that, you want to take out any dashes and put plus signs where phone numbers are concerned, because that's going to then change that phone number to a debtor to a creditor number and not a debtor number.
Indeed.
Okay. So our phone numbers are creditor phone numbers, not debtor phone numbers.
Let me get that phone number straight. And my phone, my free phone, let me see what's going on with that.
Okay. So let's see. Are there any other questions or comments, or anyone want to add to what the justice was just saying about the demonstration that he's about to do?
Islam.
Islam.
Yeah, about the phone. I'm having a problem with that too. I got a phone that's free. I either pay $40 a month, or and they made me sign this electronic stuff to get talking. I can talk unlimited, and it don't cost nothing. But I'm trying to make it so, is there any way I can make it so it be my phone number instead of, because they still making me do a contract, so I won't have to pay no money, and they're playing games with me. So if we can still keep that phone without being corporatized.
The phone is your sovereign resource. Okay.
Obama phone, that thing is free, but they make you sign these contracts to get it. Keep you all. So I'm trying to make a way where I can still keep it without being obligated to the corporation.
Yes. So have you terminated all corporate contracts on the public record?
That's all I talk about. Every chance I get, I terminate all corporate contracts. But I gotta send the I gotta find out who you lean and tell them what I'm doing, you know, because I definitely terminate all corporate in my head anyway. I really did. So I don't have anything going except just you, and I terminate all corporate contracts. And so I'm trying to clean everything up.
Islam. That's the key. That is the key. I will tell you that I'm seeing changes in the things that I do. I'm seeing changes that I never thought I would see in the transactions and the exchanges. The system is finding out what it should be doing for us based on the demonstrations that have been being done, along with the termination of corporate contracts. Once you terminate the corporate contract, you're going to start seeing the system adjust itself to fit what what the demonstrations that you're doing. However, make sure that you know that you're dealing with a system and not with foreigners. The system is our natural system. The foreigners are the ones where you pick up the phone and call them, or you go in and you start talking to foreign agents who have not registered as such, etc. That's where the problems come in at. I've also put the link to the seal in the chat. So if you click on that link, it'll take you directly to the new Moorish government seal in capitis diminutio nolo, and it's in red in all lowercase letters, Islam. So for those who want copies of the seal, click on that link and use the seal. Put it on your document. All that you're doing, use it as often as possible for those who prefer in capitis diminutio nolo. Because again, the seal is in our ancient language, which is also a jurisdictional invocation.
Islam, Empress.
Yes.
This is not a Bay in Central Territory. I was trying to see if you could recommend companies that make those seals. The ones that I've checked with and sent the proofs in that they couldn't do the small writing and all that, just made all kinds of problems where they couldn't do the seal. Is there any company that you can recommend that can do the seals?
I will say that there are some who will do it, but listen, anyone who is saying, oh, we can't do that, the writing is too small and this and that, you tell them to make it anyway, and they will make it. And when they make it, it will come out right. I've done that. I had to do that with the first seal. They were saying that the letters were too small and they were too close and the picture was not going to come out properly and blah, 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 blah. They just went on and on and on and on. And I said, despite all of that, make the seal. And when I said make the seal, they made the seal, and it came out the way it was supposed to come out.
Well, they said they could make it, but they were going to have to omit, certain letterings on it. So.
Nope. Tell them they don't have your consent to omit anything. Make it just like you gave it to them, and they'll do it. Watch, they'll do it. But you must know that they have to do it.
I did 3 companies with it.
You just tell them do it anyway.
I went with 3 companies on it and wasn't able to get it done. To that, I did get a seal made.
Were you talking to them? Were you talking to them?
Through emails, yes, but not. The service was online. But
just send them an email back and tell them to make it. Don't listen to the stuff, those sad things that they say. Don't listen to the sad things they say. Just tell them make it anyway. Go ahead and make the seal, and don't go back and forth with them. See, going back and forth with them when they say something is like arguing with the maid. You don't argue with the maid. You just tell her to do what you said, and then let that be it. Tell them make the seal. Period.
Yeah, they made the seal.
We have to negotiate with them. Make it just like you gave it to
them. They made the seal, but it wasn't totally exact. So, all right. And
Noble, we gotta put our shoulders back and tell them do it exactly, because they're going to lie. I'm gonna tell you that they will lie.
Yes.
And since you were doing it via email, they know they have to do it. Well, it's when we try and talk to them on the phone, and they're going to give you so many garbage, crap, lies, okay? But it's best that we don't engage. Just give them the command and let it be that. Give them the command. Don't go back and forth with them. There's no need.
We'll reiterate it again and go forward with this and see what happens. Thank you very much, Islam.
Yes, Islam. They're going to try and say, oh, we can do it, but we have to take 3 E's and 2 L's off. No, you don't. I'm not going back and forth with you. The command is as follows. And when they send back and start talking that trash, same command, same email, same everything, right back to them.
Islam.
It's a spell. Repeat yourself. It's a spell. You're dealing with 2-year-olds. You must repeat it back to them. Yep, you're going to do that. Yep, you're going to do that. Yep, you're going to do that. Just the same way I told you to do it is how you're going to do it. Go ahead, Empress. Thank you for that, Justice Nana. Go ahead, Empress. Sorry.
Islam. I just wanted to know, where did you say you got your stamps or your seals from?
I got mine initially from Stamp Maker, and then so many more, we were all going there. And because we were not going to go into contracts with them because they were starting to talk that kind of stuff. At the time, we did not know what we know now, and but we knew not to contract with them because they were wanting to have it so that there's a contract and they put in a 20% discount, but there's a contract, and we were like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So that was originally where we got it from. Now that we know what we know, I would try any. Simplystamps.com is one. And if you Google some stamp makers, you'll find some out there who will do it. And then also Home Depot and Staples and all of them can do it. But ultimately, we need a Moorish stamp maker. And I know there's some out there who can do it.
We do.
We need a Moorish stamp maker. And commerce is going to come to a halt for us, too, until we stand, you see, because we have everything we need to do it. If we can open nail shops and barbecue joints, we can open a stamp shop. We can get stamps done. You know, Islam is, you know, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with nail shops and barbecue places. We are commerce oriented. Commerce is the Moors. So that's actually a great thing. But if we can do that, we can make our own stamps. We have to make our own stamps. Because anything they touch is corrupt. And we don't want our stuff corrupted. So you have the stamp electronically. So use it in its electronic form for now. Just copy and paste it onto your documents like we do everything else in terms of the letterhead. And then continue doing what we're doing right now so that we can stand and have, I mean, think about it. We're doing our own ID cards now. Our ID cards originate in truth. Because they come from clean hands. There's no corruption in the process, the ID card process. They come straight from the Moors, by the Moors, and with the Moors. And everything that we do must follow that example right there. So, you know, we have these other stamp makers and things like that, but we need a Moorish stamp maker. And I'm convinced, and I know in my knower, that making stamps is not going to be as difficult as we think it's going to be. And that all we have to do is put our collective minds together as one, and a Moorish stamp makers will start showing up everywhere. I know it. And in fact, I'm calling forth all Moorish stamp makers. Now watch, they're going to come out of everywhere with a new way to do it, I'm sure. So let's just be on the lookout for the Moorish stamp makers. They're coming. Just like all that we need. They're coming. Even if I have to find out how to do it myself, which I will. I will do that if I have to. So I believe that's all that I have. If you come across any more stamp makers, whether they're asleep or awake, okay, then let's see what we can do about getting our stamps done en masse for us as a nation. And if they ask how many, we're going to need many, lots of them, you know. So with that being said, there may even be a way that those who have stamps already, or, you know, stamp embossers already, you may be able to modify the embosser. It's possible. You can modify the embosser to make it so that you get the new stamp. But I'm also knowing that we'll have stamp makers come shortly. That is all we have. Justice Yezerel, thank you for reading Article 2 of the Articles of the Confederation. We really appreciate that because that is absolutely what we need to hear on the calls. Did everyone who requested the letterhead get the letterhead already? Please check your emails because you should have received it by now. We don't want to overlook anyone. We want to make sure everyone gets the all lowercase letters in red Moorish letterhead. Okay. Yes. Okay. In the chat, I believe they got that. Islam. Yeah. Islam. Okay. Justice Malik, you asked a couple of times about doing the zodiac reading.
Islam. Yep. Okay.
Islam.
So basically, I have November readings here, and so with that being said, hold on one sec. Yes, excuse me. And so these are astrological readings for November. And these are global readings. So basically, November 3rd, Mercury actually went direct. The last time it went direct, or the same scenario happened, was when Bush and Gore were in the elections, and no one knew who got elected for a good while. And that's basically what's happening right now. And because of this, there will be a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of confusion, a lot of violence, because we're just coming out the Mercury retrograde. Keep in mind, with all these energies that are happening, there's always an upside to it. We can always use these energies in our favor and making sure that we use them in the most positive way possible so that we benefit from this. And moving on, so we have November 7th. Mars will aspect the Sun, showing and adding to the chaos that's going on. This could present attacks on the government and the current president, should he be reelected. So that's something to look out for as well. November 12th, Jupiter and Pluto conjunct at 28 degrees. Usually when they're in the later part of the degrees or early part of the degrees, they're usually the energies are more powerful.
Horoscopes, no? Is this the bullshit horoscope?
With that being said, people will feel overly righteous and have strong beliefs because Jupiter is a planet of beliefs, higher knowledge or erudition, expansion, good luck, as they say. And then Pluto is a planet of transformation, the hidden, Phoenix rising. So people will feel overly righteous and have strong beliefs and will attack with those beliefs. This can be super transformative, a super transformative power. As I mentioned, if we use this in a positive manner, right? So November 14th, Mars stations before going direct. Well, usually when a planet stations, that's when power is very impactful on the planet. It's super strong, right? So this is when its power will be its strongest, and because Mars is a planet of war, ambition, sexual energy, violence as well, and the planet of intelligence, strategies, and so forth, and so forth. This only creates more violence, attacks, arms, more accidents, fires, earthquakes, violent storms, etc. And this is also, as I mentioned before, the planet of ambition and sexual energy. So this
More
is a
bullshit,
good time to direct
dude.
that energy in a positive manner, right? November 15th, this is when we have a new moon in Libra at the 29th degree, which is the anaretic degree, right? This is a sign of balance and peace, but at this time can also go unbalanced and unpeaceful. The sun will also go into Scorpio, where things will become even deeper and truth will come out, especially about the virus. So be on the lookout for that. And by the way, these readings are Vedic / sidereal readings, or Vedic / sidereal
Pauline, I
astrology.
command you to...
And this basically deals with the fixed stars. This type of astrology is usually good when it comes to global events. Okay, so November 16th, Venus enters Libra, and people will come to a realization, to stop what they're doing, stand back, and find ways to love instead of continuing with the violence. November 20th, this is when Jupiter will go into Capricorn, and this will be a major transformation until April 5th of 2021. I spoke about this months ago. Should be there on the recorded calls about the economy shifting, and these planets meeting in the second house of the U.S. Birth chart, right? And the second house is the house of finance, securities, beauties, and so on and so forth. So the economy will shift, and this will be conjunct with Saturn in Capricorn, which brings many great things forth. And who we think the president is or could be will change at this time as well, or there's a great chance that the president will change, for better wording. Okay, so November 27th, Venus opposes Uranus. So Venus, the planet of love, relations, beauty. Uranus being a planet of technology, humanity, and also super intelligence, or the higher octave of intelligence. This brings great healing and love that comes about around the world in our personal lives as well, right? You have November 28th. Mercury goes into Scorpio. So this comes closer and closer until it conjunct exactly with this solar eclipse. Now remember,
are you still going on with you, son?
The eclipse actually lasts for 6 months from the day it happens, the day it starts, right? So that will happen December 14th, okay, 2020. And we'll go through shocking events and experiences. Also dealing with extraterrestrials. Yes, I said it, extraterrestrials. So those of you may be aware or may not be aware, but there's already information out there of this, right? And yes, so this is going to be part of the shocking events that the whole world will come to a realization that there's more life out there. So November 29th, Neptune stations. So remember, anytime a planet stations, the energy on a planet is even more powerful, right? So Neptune is the planet of illusions, and if you go on a lower octave, it could be a planet of corruption, cover-ups, deceit, and so there's going to be a lot of that coming about, or coming to a halt. Actually, the truth will be out, and this is a time for improvement in humanity. Things aren't looking too great for China, because it shows that China will be deeply affected, as well as Turkey, according to the astrological charts of their leaders. So this is pretty much the readings that I have for November. I know it's a lot to take in. As I mentioned before, the best thing that we can do is, always find the positivity, use it to our benefit, to, improve our lives, and by default, improving this whole entire nation and empire. With that being said, I yield.
Islam, thank you so much.
Give it up, Pauline. Give it up, Paul.
We appreciate it to the fullest. You said something about earthquakes, and we have been having them here quite regularly since, I believe, since Sunday, actually. Well, we had one Sunday that the heirs who were still here from this previous weekend's event, they felt it on Sunday. And then I looked online today, and there was another one on Monday and another one this morning.
Yes,
so
there's
we're
a lot
having
of
quite a few of them going on here specifically, particularly after the event that we had this past weekend. So I know that is connected. They've been like 2.9. In fact, there was one on November the 2nd. It was a 2.9 earthquake here. There was another one this morning. It was a 2.6 earthquake. And like I was telling the empresses who felt the earthquake while they were here from Nishigama territory, that the earthquakes are gently moving the earth so that we can see. Okay? They're gently moving the earth so that we can see that which belongs to us. Hold on, let me put that out of here. Put the so that there's sovereign energy only in here. So the energies that had to do with our event this past weekend, I know that there's a connection between that and the earthquakes, because we've been asking the ancestors about how to get the when the Moors were here, how to get access to some of the buildings that are underneath, that were covered in the mudflood. When the Moors were here this past weekend, we went by one of the sites here, and I posted about that particular site on social media so that you could see what it looks like and where our estate really is. The building that is starting to show here is massive. It's a huge, huge structure. And we want the structure unearthed so that we can see that which is ours. It is made of limestone, which is what we built with. And so we continue to speak with, hear from the ancestors about how best to do that in a way that will showcase and preserve that which is ours. So the earthquakes that are gently moving things around under there, I'm loving hearing it, and when I saw it online today, I thought this is awesome, because the earth is being moved so we can see our true estate. Our true estate is so much bigger than what we see above on the surface. There's a reason why they call this the surface of the earth. Surface is not the real face. A surface is like a surname. It's not the real one. That's why they use that term. That's why they call it that, a surface. And we know better than that because we know etymology. Okay. So we are about 7 minutes over. We're going to go ahead and pause for the cause here in terms of we'll come back again on Sunday and talk some more about, yes, Empress Portia she felt that earthquake this past week here. And we're going to, we'll be talking some more about, we got into this subject recently, but we're going to be talking some more about, in all lowercase letters, in red, EIN numbers, and how to use them in our system. Because see, what the noble said about the banks is also true for the system itself. That system is back in the favor of the heirs. It never left our status, but it's back in the favor of the heirs when we are competent. And again, we're starting to see that. Okay. And so we want to continue revealing the financial system that we have set in place. Okay? Because when we are competent, everything then becomes a resource for us as long as we stay out of that corporate stuff. We stay away from capitalism. And we speak in our sovereign status in red in all lowercase letters. So, with that, we will continue this call on Sunday. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign heirs.
Peace and grand rising. Peace and love.
Peace and grand rising.
Grand rising.
I know.
Grand rising
Islam.
Islam. Grand rising.
Islam.
Peace and love.
Islam.
Peace and love, everybody.
Islam. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Islam. Peace and love. Grand rising. Islam. Grand rising.